All right, 2 videos in one day. You just don't know what to expect from me, do you? Sometimes I don't video for a week, and then and also, if the weird lighting and all that changes, that's just because I'm experimenting with different views. That's a bit darker. Let's see. Yeah, that's a bit dark. It's easier for me. It might be a bit too dark for you guys. And what if I do this instead? Oh, actually, that probably looks a bit better. There you go. Maybe too bright now, but anyway. I actually felt almost compelled to do this video because I got a couple of comments and some emails pretty much all on the back of the last video, which was, get a good wife, reproduce, and create a Catholic stronghold that you'll be able to defend civilization from and your offspring. Essentially, quite a few people that are asking, I've decided to become, sorry if I keep messing with this, but it's what happens when you're a bit OCD. You just want to try and get the thing that looks a bit skew, whatever. Screw it. It's just going to be what it's going to be. Yeah. So quite a few people have asked the same question, which is, I'm Sedeprivationist, or I'm going Sedeprivationist, or I want to be Sedeprivationist, but what about my wife or my husband or whatever, And one guy in particular was like, I kind of mentioned it to my wife or partner, whatever it was, girlfriend, and she freaked out. I think it was his wife. So I kind of like pulled back a little bit, but do you have any advice on how to go about this? Now, here's my advice. The virtues of the church are not just there for fun. They're a good thing. And one of them is prudence. Now, it is the virtue that I am weakest at because I don't have a lot of prudence. I tend to be an impatient guy who doesn't lack for courage, and unfortunately sometimes doesn't get scared. So that can get you into a lot of trouble, especially when you're curious like I am. So I would advise prudence. And what does that mean? That means take it easy, because there are times to act swiftly and fast and decisively. But generally speaking, those times are not when you are presenting a completely new philosophy of life to the person that you live with, and hopefully are married to, and hopefully want to get to an old age and death, in many years from now, after you've had a bunch of kids. So I don't know that it's particularly useful, because my situation is always a bit unique. Everybody's situation is unique, but my particular story is, it would make a good film, a good book or something, We actually just mentioned this the other night, my wife and I. It was like, I can't remember, something happened where somebody was taking a long time to figure something out, and she was like, oh, well, you see, that's just how things are. And I'm like, no, that's what, stupid lazy people don't wake up quickly do. And they waste 10 years of their good time, where we could have had more kids. And I was just having a little go at her. And she laughed, and she goes like, no, we've discussed this. It would have never, ever worked if we got together when we first met, 11, 12, whatever, however many years it is now. So it's more than that now. It's like 14 years or something, but anyway. And, we have thought about this, and we have said it, and it's absolutely true. I mean, she was very much a party girl that didn't want anybody to tell her what to do, and I am who I am. I haven't changed that much over the years. Just learned to be a little bit, tiny bit more patient, which helps. and try to see things. I've always seen things from a big picture point of view, but that was a cause of frustration mostly because nobody else looks at the big picture. So I'm like, this is the big picture, and they're worrying about some worm eye view thing, which I'm like, that's irrelevant. And they're like, but how can you say it's irrelevant? I mean, this is the car I'm going to be driving, and whether it's red or blue or gray, it's a huge decision. And I'm like, it's a fucking car. Who cares? It's got 4 wheels. Does it drive? Good. Get one. Get whichever color you want. If you can't pick one, toss a coin. That's kind of how I am at stuff. And of course, most humans are not, so that, always caused a bit of friction. But the thing is, even, we talked for a long time. I was still in a relationship, if you want to call it a relationship. I was with someone some of the time, and and so was she, and but we talked like friends and whatever, and it was quite clear, she was just getting out of her relationship, and I was really never into the one I was in very deeply. It was just someone I was kind of with to pass the time, to be honest. And and then we kind of were both single at a certain point in time. But the thing is that time when we weren't single, and we didn't, we were good. We didn't do anything. We didn't mess around with each other or anything. And in fact I even told her, like, look, don't break up or whatever. Don't leave that situation that you're in for me, or to think, oh, it's gonna be great with me or work with me or whatever. Don't do that. If you want to leave that situation, that's on you. That you do it on your own, and then if and when something develops between us, that'll be that if it happens, but don't do that. So to be fair, she listened to that, which was good. So it was very clear, very slow sort of situation that developed over a long time in terms of the God stuff, the Christianity and all that. And we talked about that stuff quite extensively. And the thing that surprised me about her is, especially given her past, but then, it's surprising about me too, given my past, was that she was like, yeah, no, that is, I can see how what you're saying makes sense. I can see how that Catholicism does make more sense. And yeah, I can sort of see that. And yeah, I can see why marriage should be once and that's it. And I always thought that anyway. So there was a lot of, we probably talked about this sort of stuff, on and off, because there'd be like weeks we wouldn't speak or whatever. But gradually, over a period of probably a couple of years, that was discussed to the point where we both sort of understood that we were pretty much on the same page, although, I was a lot more, and I still am, a lot more well-read on the subject and more in-depth into it. She's more like, kind of goes with what she feels type of thing. But it took a long time. And then even after we did get together, we grew in it together, But the thing is, when I say we grew in it together in the correct manner, which is of a husband and wife, or a man and a woman, or, we weren't married at the time. But the point is, the closest way that I can explain what a marriage should be like is the closest association I can think of is the military, because, or, actually the analogy I always use is the spaceship captain. You've got a spaceship captain, and then you've got a first officer, and that's it. It's a spaceship of 2 people, But I'm the captain, you're the first officer. That's how it works. It's not an option, it's not like you get to argue about it. It's not like, but sometimes I can be captain on a Tuesday. No. You're not captain for 1 second at any point in time, ever. I'm the captain. You don't have to like it. You don't have to be with me. You don't have to be on this spaceship. You can be on whatever spaceship you want, where they've got all sorts of different rules. But if you want to be on this spaceship, I'm the captain, you're the first officer. You will have your duties and responsibilities, and I have mine. And I'm not going to shirk mine, and you're not going to be allowed to shirt yours if you try. So I strongly suggest that you develop in your own mind what it means to be a first officer. And we discuss it at length if need be. Because there's no point, I don't want, this spaceship is traveling far, far away. It's not one of these Star Trek type spaceships. No, this is more like a Star Destroyer of the Empire. But it's only 2 people. And it's gonna go, I won't have the time to piss about wondering whether my first officer is the right person for the job. No, fuck that. My first officer's got to be able to telepathically go to the guns when pirates need shooting, hyperspace to the next black hole when we need to escape from something, or, it's got to be a really well, smooth running team. Which means that we need to be very clear about who's doing what and what our roles are like. Now, there are a lot of men, unfortunately, from my perspective, I don't know what it's like to be them. I only know what it's like to be me. But there are a lot of men that fake that attitude, or that try and, fake it till I make it type of thing. I've never had to fake that for 1 second of my life, because I genuinely am like that. And it's not about being, a male chauvinist pig or having a sex slave for a wife or anything like that. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just in my DNA. It's like, if I am in a relationship, then I'll be leading things. That doesn't mean that I won't ask for their opinion or ask for their input, or sometimes I'll let them choose the path, on certain things in certain moments or whatever. And I'll take advice from them, and sometimes I'll realize, they've got a better idea than what I do, which is all the things that a good captain does. They don't ignore the first officer. The first officer is a very important part of that spaceship. But when it comes down to the crunch, when it comes down to like, okay, now it's a life and death decision, it's a decision of where the ship goes next, that's down to the captain. And if you're the type of first officer that resents that, don't be on my ship. Don't be anywhere near my ship. Don't even come visit. We're not that type of ship. Now, I've made the emphasis on that while trying to discuss this with you, not because I'm saying you've got to be like I am, but because to try and explain to you how a woman will generally follow her man in any decent, good relationship. And what happens is, even when we got together and that, I said, look, my intention is not to like have a fling. I've had plenty of those. I'm kind of old enough now that I would like to actually kind of settle down a bit. And it would be, to look to get married. And if I'm going to get married, that's it. There's not going to be somebody else. There's not going to be any divorce. There's no way out. I'm done, like with all that shit. And I was very clear about that. And, she would go through these things where, we went to Venice, I think. I'm trying to think. Yeah, we got together like on the 10th of April. She basically moved in. She just kind of like from one day to the next, she just said, right, I'm going to come live there for a bit. And then she never left. So it was like the 10th of April. And I think it was, I don't want to lie, but I think it was in May that we went to Venice. And she was like, we went past this place that made rings, proper gold rings. And we basically ordered the rings, which takes a while, but it was like, we haven't been together really a month. So, but she'd go from that to like, no, this is not gonna work. You're crazy, and I just want to be on my own. And she would go the whole gamut, which is what women do, But I'd been through all sorts of situations. So by that time, I was like, yeah, it's not really gonna faze me, like your insecurities or your doubts or whatever. And there was some very rough patches. There's no doubt about it. But with respect to the religion thing, with respect to the Catholicism, the Sedeprivationism and all that, there was absolutely no hint of a crack there from me, because that had nothing to do with her. It had nothing to do with anybody. It was like I had found that path by myself in very tough conditions, and I absolutely knew that was the best bedrock I've ever had in my life. And now anyone that knows anything about me knows that I have never exactly been, a fragile, sort of self-effacing, insecure type of person. I've never had that problem in my life. Even when I was not capable to do certain things, I've always been very objective, very aware of my abilities or lack of abilities or whatever. But I also know very well what I'm capable of and what I can learn and what I can do. Even if I can't do it right now, just give me time, I'll get there. So I've never had any kind of, self-esteem problem. But discovering the absolute truth of God was a completely different level of clarity. And I knew that no matter what, she wasn't going to change anything about that. She wasn't going to divert me from being a proper Catholic. She wasn't going to divert me from eventually getting baptized. She wasn't going to move me one atom from that. And that was, again, absolutely nothing about this was, fate or had to be put on or I had any doubts. No. In the worst, arguments or doubts that she had, or that she situations that were not good or not happy for either one of us, I never ever doubted God or Jesus Christ or the fact that Sedeprivationism is correct. I didn't veer from that one tiny millimeter. And I think it's that which, more than anything else, brought her to the point where she too wanted to get baptized. She too felt it was right. She too felt that it was the right thing to do. And by the way, when we got baptized, just before that, some pretty, crappy stuff happened, and she had serious doubts, and we'd already booked the whole getting baptized thing. And I was like, well, I'm gonna cancel it because I don't want to do this like this, and I don't want to do it by myself in this condition, so I'm just gonna cancel it. And then she was like, and I did, I canceled the trip and everything. And then she was like, can you still get those things to, can you get it back? Can you book it again? Can we still get it? And I was like, what, you still want to do it? And she's like, yeah. And then it was like, okay. So I rebooked everything. And it wasn't because, oh, she's going to do it with me now. It was because I was like, okay, I could feel there was something about this where it was an important event, and we were getting a lot of resistance from a lot of different areas, but we could overcome all of that. And I knew that if we got baptized, it doesn't, because once you get baptized, it doesn't matter how you get there, how difficult it is, whether you haven't slept in 3 days, which is pretty much the case, whether you have to do 24-hour crash course, whatever. Whether you know the whole thing about the catechism, whether you're really well read up on Catholicism. She certainly wasn't. I was, but I still had gaps and stuff. It was the fact that I knew that once that's done, it's done. There's absolutely no going back, and that's it. And she knew that as well. In her own way, she was aware of that. So it was like, and we both felt this is the right thing to do, regardless of what's going on around us or even between us or whatever. So that's what we did. And then after you're baptized, then it's like, okay, are we gonna stay together and be married, or go our separate ways and find somebody else to get married to? And then the wedding again was like a thing where she was sure, not sure, and whatever. And right up to the moment of getting married, she was like, no, I don't think it's right. No, I want to stop it. I was like, not stopping jack shit. We agreed the date. We told the priest when. That's the date. If you're going to pull out, you're going to pull out. We're not going to delay. We're not going to reschedule. That's it. That's the date. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. But that is the date. I am going to do it on that date. Unless, you decide not to. Because, of course, you can't force anybody to marry you, and there's no... That would be horrible. That's the last thing I want. But I also knew that it's like, nah, you're not going to screw it up in the way that you screw things up usually, which is like indecision. You might be undecided, but that's your problem. And I'm not going to let you manipulate me into making it my problem. It's not my problem. You're insecure, you're not sure, you don't think I'm the right person. That's on you. Make your decision. You live with it. I've made mine, and that's the date, and that's the time, and that's where it's happening. See you there or not. Up to you, And obviously she showed up, she was there, and we went there together. And, the funny thing is that the day before, she was like, almost in a panic attack. The moment after the wedding and the day after, the couple of days after, she was like, oh my God, this is so right. I can't believe I even doubted it for a second. I'm absolutely sure this is correct. Don't worry, that didn't mean it. The doubt stopped. They came back and then they went away and so on. But that's women. They're like the weather. And if you're such a wuss that you think, oh, it's raining, it's cold, I better put a raincoat on. Oh, it's sunny, I better take have suntan cream. Dude, it's just the weather, Whether it's raining and you get all drenched, wet and cold and a bit hypothermic, yeah, just wait a bit. Sun's coming out in a moment. If you don't die of hypothermia, you'll probably get sunburned for a bit. But, and once you've gone through enough of that, yeah, rain, sunshine, sleet, snow, whatever. It's just the weather. And a woman can feel that, if she's with a guy that's like, nah, it's just the weather. But not because he doesn't care about her, not because he ignores her, not because he's uncaring of her crazy, completely unfounded bullshit emotions. Because a lot of times they are. But nevertheless, you still have to, I wouldn't say, care to the extent that you throw your life upside down. But, she's obviously going through something that's upsetting for her, or that's euphoric, or whatever it is, and, act accordingly. You don't want the person you care about to be upset or feel bad or feel anxious or feel tense. But sometimes, it's like children and dogs, you got to train them a little bit. And it's like, look, you're having an emotion right now. Just take a breath, go for a walk, think about it a little bit, and you'll be fine. I'm still here. I'm still going to be here when you come back. And just, that's it. And it took a while. Because, of course, when you're high-strung people that have got very intense emotions, everything is all or nothing. But that's not how life is. So what feels like all or nothing, it's not. And in time, you'll realize that. But if you make a rash decision, or if you make something that really upsets the other person, you might figure it out 3 years later, after you've divorced and split up, because you just came home and said, no, Sedeprivationism is it. This guy's book is the right book, and we're going to become Catholics tomorrow. And that's it. You fuck up your whole relationship. Don't do that. Take your time. Also because you need to be sure. Don't become a Sedeprivationist just because I tell you to, or because I wrote a book and you really liked it. You got to figure this stuff out for yourself. Remember, I don't want retards. I am the guy that all the retards, leave them behind. I don't want to do anything to do with them. So catechize yourself properly. Read up on it. Understand what the rules of the church are. Understand what it means to be Catholic. Also because when you get asked the questions, and keep in mind, especially if you're from a Protestant country, the Protestants have been completely brainwashed to think that Catholicism is evil, but look at the fruits. Look at the fruits of Catholicism. They're undeniable. And when I'm talking about the Novus Ordo, you have to absolutely differentiate between the Novus Ordo and Catholicism. And that little book, Believe, is really good for that. It's like 100 pages. You can read it in like a couple of hours. And it's got all the essentials in there. So, you know, I know I've gone on a bit about my specific relationship, but it's to try and give you parallels so that you can try and relate to something. It's not always easy or fun or all, you know, good and smooth. There's going to be rough patches, but you've got to be the rock. It's on you to be the leader of which religion you're going to be. You know, again, think like those crusader guys. They're the ones that decided, I'm going to sell my castle, I'm going to sell everything, I'm going to give up my lands just so I can get enough money to march with my entire family and my young children all the way to Jerusalem to kill infidels and free the Holy Land. Crazy, right? Completely insane. But those guys did that. It wasn't insane, it was true faith. And their wives followed, you know, and their kids sometimes quite often died because it was a really tough thing. Their wives died, their brother and sisters died. You know, it was a tough thing. But if they hadn't done that, we probably wouldn't have Christendom. So those men made choices, and they weren't flights of fancy. And if you look into the history of it, you read what these guys wrote, you read what they said. Sure, you know, they all had very healthy personalities in terms of, again, self-esteem. There wasn't any crusader that was like, oh, maybe I'm not the right guy for the job. Nah, they were all like, nah, I'm the right guy for the job. I'm going to free Jerusalem, probably myself. Me and you, us three, we can do it. No worries. That was kind of the attitude they had. But they also pretty much did that, you know. So you've got to, they did that and they chose that. Again, why? Because one, they knew very well their own ability. You know, some overestimated, some underestimated, whatever, but they all had a pretty decent sense of what they could and couldn't do. And two, they believed. They absolutely had faith. So that is the key. And when a man is that convicted and that clear, and it's not a put on, you know, he's not trying to fool himself into believing it. He genuinely knows it. I mean, win, lose, or indifferent, I don't have a doubt about my religious beliefs. It doesn't matter if I lose a fight or even everything, you know, even if everything goes completely to crap, that doesn't change. You know, my ability or inability or good, bad, whatever. And you don't even know what's good or bad, because sometimes something really bad leads you to something really good. You know, my second divorce is horrific. I won't go into the details of it, but it was just really ugly. But if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have my son, another one on the way, and maybe more to come, and a wife that is awesome. You know, I wouldn't have any of those things, because it is as a result of that tragic, shitty experience that one of the reasons that I became a Christian is because as a result of that experience, that led me to something else, which led me to something else, which led me to my road to Damascus moment. So through a lot of heartache and pain, but you know, that's just how life is sometimes, you know. So I would suggest go slow, take your time. You be convinced, you be clear, you know, on what it means to be a Sedeprivationist, a proper Catholic. You be clear on what it means to create a Catholic community. You be clear on what it means to be a Catholic husband, what it means for you to have a Catholic wife, how you're going to raise your kids. No, these things take a bit of time. You know, they don't happen overnight. And if you notice, you know, my channel's been going now for a year and a bit, year and a half, something like that. And it's hovering at the just under 2,000 mark, which is fine. Because, as you may have noticed, I am not really concerned with making a whole bunch of good friends and pleasing everybody. You just give me the hint of a stench of gamma and you're gone. You're gone. You ask a really dumbass question, I'm going to call you an idiot. There's a reason for that too. Because I don't want the retards. if you're so fragile, if you're so weak, if you're so stupid, if you're so uneducated, if you're so ignorant, if you can't put two and two together, this is not the channel for you. This is not the guy to listen to. Don't read my books. Don't do anything of the stuff that I talk about. Go somewhere else, right? Because the people that I want on my side are people who do, who act, who actually create stuff in the world, in the meat space, not just here online on a video or on a blog somewhere. No, they get shit done. And I want enough of those people to first understand proper Catholicism and become proper Catholics, and then start to agglomerate. And that's happening now. You know, there are people that are starting to get communities. I got an email today. A guy today told me about, oh, our priest died. We had another priest, but I think he's totally converged now. So we're now looking for a new priest. We're thinking of buying some land. This is what it's going to cost. Can you suggest some priest that maybe we can follow, or where we can find? We're not too far from our area. Or maybe we can finance one. You know, I've never spoken to this guy before. Obviously, he's seen my videos. He's read my book. These are doers. These are people who do, and they're getting together. They're meeting up with other Catholics. They're having kids. It's happening. It is happening. But it's not a 5-minute thing. It's not going to happen in 1 day or 2 days or a week or a month or even 6 months or even a year, right? I've been doing this for a year and a half, and now I am getting little reports, by the way, from all around the world, okay? There are the ripple effect is massive. And it's not because I got 30, 40, 50,000 followers, because there are people out there that have got like 50,000 followers or whatever, like Jay Dyer. And what the fuck has he achieved? What are his people achieving? Nothing. Because they're all basement trolls, you know, having intellectual masturbation fantasies about theology. It's not what I want. I'd rather have a illiterate Catholic peasant, and that's why he watches the videos, because he can't read or write, who says, this is good, I am going to be a good Catholic, yes, here's my plow, I now farm some potatoes for my children, I will have 15 of them. It's a good guy. Good guy. You want that guy in your village, right? And that's what these guys are doing. They're starting to meet up, they're starting to get together, starting to talk about, okay, let's buy some land together. It's not happening just out there in the world. It's happening in my own life. Okay, there are groups of people that I know that we're discussing that. And it is everywhere. And Catholics take action. That's the whole point. So those are the people I want. And if you're one of those people, you're not the kind of guy that blows hot and cold. You're not going to change your mind in a week or a month or, you know. And if you're really truly in love and already married to like some hardcore Lutheran or something, you're going to have an uphill battle. You know, I'm not going to bullshit you. You know, it's not going to be fun and easy and yay, little pink flowers all the time. No. But the truth sets you free, and that works. So maybe it'll set you free by making sure that you don't stay with a damn Lutheran. Maybe it'll set them free by showing them the true path, the true road. One book that is a brilliant, brilliant book, especially for brainwashed Protestants, is Rodney Stark's Bearing False Witness. If you've read Believe, it's one of the books referenced in there. Bearing False Witness is a great book because it takes on the most well-known, shall we say, heresies or bullshit about Catholicism that the Protestants have been taught from day one, and it tears them apart with facts and truth. And the thing is, Rodney Stark is not a Catholic, so it's quite amazing and quite a good one. Another one that's very good is The Four Witnesses by a guy called, I think it's Bennett something, I can't remember. Anyway, I think that's in Believe too as a reference. You know, Believe has got quite a lot of refers to a lot of other books. But The Four Witnesses is a brilliant book because, again, written by a guy who was a Protestant, a convinced Protestant, who just wanted to know a bit more about church history and was absolutely convinced that the Catholic Church was, you know, the demon from hell. And then he started to read books and volumes of information from even just the first 200 years of Catholicism, of Christianity. And he went from being a hardcore convinced Protestant to a Catholic. Now, that's not unusual. That is not an uncommon thing at all. But of course, my aim is mostly aimed at cradle Catholics who have been deceived. So the deception is big, and there are some detailed, things and tricks that the enemy has used to fool you into thinking that Sedeprivationism, just a bunch of it's a crazy small sect of people. I assure you, we're not small, and we're the sanest people that I've actually met. And we're doing shit in the real world. We're making shit happen. We're doing stuff in our own lives, in the lives of our people like us, of the ones that we know, of other Sedeprivationists, and we stay in touch, even if we're across the globe. I know what's going on somewhere in the States. I know what's going on somewhere in Australia. I know what's going on with people that are of our type, of our tribe. And it's powerful. It's very powerful. So get yourself to a true Catholic Mass. Meet other Sedeprivationists. Meet other proper Catholics. It's always good, because then you can experience it in your life as a thing. It's not just an idea. It's not just a theory. You actually meet people that live like this. And once you do, it's like, well, shit, why aren't I part of this? Why did I wait so long, to get involved here? And look, this is coming from a guy who pretty much hates human beings, irrespective of, religion, race, color, or anything. I don't really like people because I find them stupid, boring, and often petty and ignorant. They just kind of hate humans. I mean, if the aliens land and they say, yeah, we'll give you a little spaceship, but you gotta sell out the human race, I'll be like, yeah. And I'll even tell you of some other planets where they might be on, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of humanity. But even somebody as misanthropic and individualistic as I am, sees the genuine positive beauty of hanging out with other proper Catholics. It doesn't mean I like every single one of them to bits, but compared to the average human, man, they're light years apart. I genuinely enjoy the company of other proper Catholics. We have interesting conversations, intelligent conversations, and not just about Catholicism, because in order for you to be a Sedeprivationist, you've got to have a certain level of intellectual ability on your shoulders, just to sort of understand the arguments sometimes, or at least follow them, But aside from that, the genuineness of it, the women are women, the men are men. We found a really funny thing, actually, because, we've all been in lockdowns pretty much since our son was able to walk and stuff. So he hasn't seen that many people, and we've had some people come around, whatever the limit of whatever the two family, whatever it is. But mostly they've been my wife's friends that we've met up with, and obviously all women. But then not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, we went to the beach and we met up with another family there, very Catholic family. They've got 5 kids and whatever, and the man, the husband, is awesome guy. I really like him. He's a proper English gentleman, extremely well spoken, well read, and polite, very polite. But you can see that he's a man. He won't take any crap from anybody. Very politely, very English. But then but his wife says, yeah, he is very polite and very English. But then sometimes he comes up with something so completely politically incorrect that you can hear a pin drop. And he's an awesome guy. He's great. And what I noticed was, like, my little son was very comfortable with him. Would go up to him and even, like, he points and so said, Dad, so he calls me Dad, and he's like, and he points to this guy and goes, Dad, like he's asking me, is this a dad? Is this another one like of you? And I thought, but that's funny. And then when we came home, I said, that was really weird. He was really comfortable with that dude, and he's not always comfortable with people or whatever. And I'm like, and then she says, yeah, but that's because he's a man. And I'm like, oh yeah, he hasn't really seen any other. And he goes, yeah, and he's got just that energy of being a man. So he's like, yeah, I'm cool. Because he would just be walking around playing with the other kids and whatever. And then he'd just like sidle up to him and just lean his elbow on him, like it was a piece of furniture. And I was like, oh shit, he does that with me, but I'm his dad. That's like kind of a bit weird, But I thought about it afterwards. It makes perfect sense. The men are men, the women are women, the kids are kids. It's really cool. And I don't know, it's a way of living that we've almost lost. It would be a shame, it would be horrible for that to die out. It won't, because it's the true one holy and apostolic Catholic Church, so we've got the promise of Jesus, but we are a remnant at the moment. That is a fact. I don't believe that we should ever despair and think, oh, well, it's the end of days and, this is the end times and now, it's the apocalypse. Maybe it is, but, it's like a fight, it's like a competition, it's like anything. Maybe you are at the end of the fight. Maybe you are at the end of the last bit of breath. What are you going to do? Lie on your ass and give up? No, fuck that. I'm going to fight right to the end. It doesn't matter. So, oh, but the fight's already lost. Well, I'm those kind of guys. And guess what? Those kind of guys, they change the world. They change history. They change what's supposed to happen. Because if enough of us get our shit together and turn it around and we all become proper Catholics, there's no reason why we can't retake the Vatican. We will have to reconsecrate every single atom of it because, the filthy stuff that's gone on in there, I don't know if it's salvageable. We might have to just get the works of art out and burn it all down and salt the earth. I don't know, because it is a portal to hell right now. But, that's neither here nor there. The fact is, you'll be amazed at how few of us it would take to do that. You would be stunned. Keep in mind that Catholics kept the Holy Land free of infidels for 200 years with a handful of knights, and they did that for 200 years with no support from the Orthodox. In fact, quite often the reverse. Catholics have won battles where they were outnumbered more than 100 to 1 and lasted, it wasn't like a one-off. It's happened time and time and time again. Why? Because, it's a little bit like the Annie Lennox song. Don't mess with a missionary man. He's got God on his side. If you're that kind of guy, you've got God on your side. What's going to stop me? Your bullet? Maybe. But maybe it'll just make a hole in one lung, and I got 2 lungs, and I can keep coming. And even if I'm dead, well, I know where I'm going. People like me are going to purgatory for a very long time if we're lucky. But, I'm still fighting for the right side. And that's all that matters. So that level of conviction you only get from the truth. You can't fake it. You can't imagine it. You can't pretend it. And the woman that you're with can feel it. So my advice to you, if you want to, how do I get my wife on board? My first point to you is, you get yourself on board 100%. Be clear for yourself who you are, what Sedeprivationism is, what being a Catholic really means. Read those books that I refer to in Belief. They are worth it. They are the things that will help you understand. And as you do that, naturally, progressively, your wife, partner, whatever, will naturally tend to gravitate towards you. If that relationship is in any way salvageable, good, healthy, or worthwhile, that's the natural thing of what will happen. If the opposite happens and she starts to nag at you and bitch at you and moan at you every time, then maybe you're with the wrong person. Or they just need a rude awakening, and some people only get it that way, so, but be kind, be patient, and be forthright, be truthful to yourself, first of all. and things will work out. You know, believe in God and God believes in you. It's very simple. So I hope that helps. I know I've rambled on a bit randomly and maybe it doesn't help anybody, but I hope it does. I'm thinking it probably will, at least a few people. So yeah, go slow. Learn. Educate yourself above all, because you can't lead somebody somewhere else if you don't know where you're going. You know, you need to know where you're going. You need to be certain of where you're going. Now, even when you're certain of where you're going, shit will happen. You'll have a tire blowout, your spaceship will run out of fuel, pirates attack, you know, crap happens. That's just life. But you need to know where you're going so that when the crap happens, it's not like, oh my God, we lost it all. No. You're like, yep, engines are blown. We don't have any more vac suits. It's decompressing. And, there's a radioactive leak that's probably going to send the whole ship nuclear in about 35 seconds. But we still have the escape pod. And we can crush both of us into it. Yeah, let's do that. And my laser gun. We're good. Good to go. We'll find a way. You know, just aim it directly at the pirate ship that knocked us out, and then we'll take that shit. You know, you make a plan. If you know where you're going, all the stuff that happens in between is just what the French call contretemps. You know, a little contretemps. It's just a little thing in the way. Yeah, you just got to overcome a little obstacle. That's it. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. I got my little remote working again, so let's see if this works. Good night. No, try take two.